Okay, the poem I will be analyzing is Digging by Seamus Heaney. Between my finger and my thumb the squat pen rests, snug as a gun. Under my window a clean rasping sound when the spade sinks into gravelly ground. My father digging. I look down, till his straining rump among the flower beds bends low, comes up 20 years away, stooping in rhythm through potato drills, where he was digging. The coarse boot nestled on the lug, the shaft against the inside knee was levered firmly. He rooted out tall tops, buried the bright edge deep to scatter new potatoes that we picked, loving their cool hardness in our hands. By God, the old man could handle a spade, just like his old man. My grandfather cut more turf in a day than any other man on Toner's bog. Once I carried him milk in a bottle, corked sloppily with paper. He straightened up to drink it, then fell right away, nicking and slicing neatly, heaving sods over his shoulder, going down and down for the good turf, digging. The cold smell of potato mold, the squelch and slap of soggy peat, the curt of an edge, through living roots awaken in my head. But I've no spade to follow men like them. Between my finger and my thumb the squat pen rests. I'll dig with it. So, to begin the TP cast, we will look at the title. And I would like to note that it, it doesn't say to dig or I dig or whatever. It says digging, which kind of creates a repetitive or constant feel to it. And then it also kind of, the with the word choice that Seamus chose, digging, it kind of suggests a lower status or a working class, because the upper class don't dig, but the working class go out and dig the things themselves. And which then also brings into play that reward should be worth the hard work. And this kind of sets up the tone for the passage that it's most likely going to be about someone working and then maybe even for a special reward, or we're kind of unsure about what it is, but just from the title we're able to tell all this. And then to kind of paraphrase the poem, the speaker's family has been generation farmers, but he does not want to follow. He wants to follow as a poet, digging with his pen instead of for potatoes. Um, for some of the things we can consider, so personification, um, there are actually kind of two right here. The squat pen rests. The pen is the one, a pen doesn't rest, but it's resting in his hand. And then also the boot nestled. And these kind of just give life to these inanimate objects. And so it gives the pen a lot more importance than originally suggested. And like I said, it brings it to life. And, also, the pen is alive and comfortable sitting in his hand. It's meant to be, like I said. And then we can also look at symbol. And if you notice the things I have highlighted in purple, the the potato. So the two symbols I would say are most prominent in this poem are potato and pen. And it's interesting because these are two completely different symbols. So it brings about the pen, or we'll start with potato. The potato um, symbolizes resilience, and so a potato is food, so the potato sustains life in the body. But then on the contrary, the pen, which is what our author wants to pursue, sustains the body and the soul, or the soul and the mind. Sorry. Um, so this just it kind of in this these two further or juxtapose each other, and because like the potato, which is what his family has done for so long, yes, it sustains life in the body, but it's also sort of going through the motions. And then the pen brings a new aspect of digging. It's not the typical digging that many people assume, but it's his way of digging where he is sustaining his soul and mind. And then we also can look at the attitude of the poem. The tone of the speaker throughout here is admiration and jealousy. So if we look down, um, if we look at just all the throughout the whole poem, and especially right here in pink, um, it says, "Through living roots awaken in my head, but I have no spade to follow men like them." He says men like them, and I have no spade, so that suggests that he wishes he could follow them, and then it kind of creates a turn, like a sense of jealousy and how he wishes he could be like them and dig potatoes, but at the same time he appreciates how he can't, and then it also brings about how this whole poem is, in a sense, an explanation to his father and his grandfather of why it's okay that he doesn't dig like they do, and that of how he digs, but just in a different fashion. A very key shift through this poem is right here where the green line is. Up here, he's talking about himself and his father, but then this line, especially right here, it says just like his old man. Um, so this shifts. This is a simple shift into his talking about that, and then it brings in the earlier generation. So then it kind of builds on the importance. So it's not just like his father did it and now he wants to follow, but it's that his father did it and then his grandfather did it, and so it creates a sense of like, or it builds on his jealousy because he needs to continue the tradition. Um, and then there is also a shift where it says, "But I've no spade, but I've no spade to follow men like them." And kind of like I was suggesting earlier, it brings about his jealousy and shows it. But then in this sentence, we also have a shift of where he's coming to realize that it's okay that he's not like them. And this is also noticed through the repetition of, if you notice, begins with the first lines and kind of ends with those same lines. So it's throughout the whole poem, he's sort of building up his confidence and admitting that it's okay that he's not like his father and his grandfather. And then after analyzing this, there's also it is important to point out that like I said, the first and last lines that are repeated, it says between my finger and my thumb, and the author could have easily said in my hand, but he specifically chose my finger and my thumb. And while that's basic, it applies to almost everyone when they hold a pen. It shows that the pen belongs in a very specific spot. It's not just in his hand. It's not just laying there. It has a specific place. It belongs somewhere, and it's meant to be its fate. And also, this line right here, "snug as a gun," that is very significant because it it's especially significant because it's at the beginning of the poem. It's in the second line, and that's very throughout the whole rest of the poem. There's never really any harsh imagery as a gun, and this suggests that he's seeking comfort. And back to what, or which also brings into the idea that if we can notice throughout the whole poem, it's used through present tense, and like I said earlier, he's trying to suggest, or he is searching for his identity, because he knows that he doesn't belong digging potatoes like his grandfather and his father did, but he knows he does in some other way. So he's searching for his own identity. And this suggests that he's a teenager because that is typically the age when one searches for their own identity. So by saying snug as a gun, the pen to him is his safety. Like, a gun keeps one safe, so the pen keeps him safe because that's how he is. And to another point to notice is he says, "Under my window, a clean rasping sound." Now, rasping can have many connotations. However, in this, it typically has a negative connotation. But by placing clean in front of it, it almost creates a contradictory feel to it, a contradictory tone. Um, and it suggests the author's comfortability with this sound and how he's used to it and he's grown up with it. And then, which further goes into, he says, when the spade sinks into gravelly ground, my father digging, I look down. So it's very important to notice that he says, my father digging, before he looks down. So this happens very often because he's able to recognize that it's his own father before even looking at him. And then now, if we go back and we revisit the title, it's important. We can notice that by saying digging, all of these do apply, and that also he appears to now. We can note that digging, when you typically dig, you are looking for something. And we can conclude that the author is looking for his identity because he does not belong with his father and grandfather. Also, in this poem, the theme that is developed, that I would say the most important theme in here is self-realization and acceptance, and the fact that it's okay to be different and people can be helpful in different ways, which leads to my thesis. In this poem, Digging by Seamus Heaney, the author utilizes a pen to symbolize the speaker's self-realization and ultimately reveal the importance of acceptance. To return back to the poem, like I pointed out earlier, between my finger and my thumb, the squat pen rests snug as a gun. So, we can notice, let me zoom in, the squat pen rests right here. And the use of the word squat gives the pen sort of humanistic characteristics. And as I mentioned earlier in the video, this brings the pen to life, which suggests the importance of it in the author's life. And the pen, by resting between his finger and his thumb, snug as a gun, it shows that the pen really has a place to belong and that it is its destiny to be within the author's hands, and there is no avoiding it. And by understanding that this is fate for the pen to be in his hands, he's able to accept that he is different and that this is what he is meant to do. He's not meant to hold a spade in his hands. He's not meant to dig potatoes like his father and his grandfather. He's meant to hold the pen between his finger and his thumb. He is meant to write for his future. I chose these 4 images because they're pretty self-explanatory, but I chose the pen because, as I stated in my thesis, the pen holds a lot of power in this author's life. It gives him the power and it creates his self-identity. Through this pen, he's able to write and do what he loves. This image was chosen because it represents his father and the family tradition of growing potatoes. And then this one also further correlates with the pen in which he's writing and doing what he feels is his purpose in the world. And this one was actually my favorite image, and it kind of shows how a grandfather and a father are talking and are together, but the son feels left out. And if we go back to the poem, we can note that he is jealous and feels like he's a disappointment because he's unable to write like them or to dig like them for potatoes. But he's able to, throughout the poem, through the course of the poem, he's able to note that and accept himself and understand that it is okay that he is different and that he can dig just like his father and grandfather did, but he will dig with his pen, whereas they dug with the spade.